Hello, I'm Dr. Manuel G. Saldivar. I'm a cognitive psychologist and a university faculty member. On this channel, I focus on ideas and concepts that will help you become more successful as a college student. Please join me for today's episode. One of the biggest challenges that many college students face is not understanding when they're beginning their college career that ultimately your academic outcomes, your academic career, your life as a student is your responsibility. Now, this doesn't mean that you're in this alone, and I want to emphasize that. You always have different resources, different places you can go at your college or university to get assistance. I would refer you to some of the other episodes in this video series for examples and guidance, in particular the first and second episodes, which will be linked below in the description box to this video. So there are places you can go for all kinds of challenges, questions, issues you might have on your college or university campus. So don't feel like you have to figure everything out without any guidance, without any assistance. As long as you're willing to ask for help, you should be able to get it on your campus. But you also need to understand that ultimately you're responsible for managing your academic progress as a student. That'll be the focus in today's episode. Before you can get more deeply into this process, though, you need to be prepared to reflect on what your values are. This is where students often struggle. So what I mean by values is the idea that whatever career you want to pursue, whatever profession you want to pursue, the probability that you'll find satisfaction, that you'll find happiness in that career, that profession, is going to be very low if you're trying to do something that doesn't align well with your values. By values, I mean, what is it that you find important in life? What makes you get up out of bed in the morning, to put it maybe in a more straightforward way? Many students come into college without any firm idea about what they want to do in terms of their career, and that's fine. Part of the value of college is being able to experience different things, take different courses, be exposed to ideas, to subjects you would not necessarily have ever been exposed to before. And by learning about these new ideas, these different subjects, that might give you some direction. However, some students come in with a misunderstanding of what it means to pursue a certain profession. They don't realize exactly what it takes to become a medical doctor or an attorney or an engineer or whatever the profession is. This can be problematic because you may think you have a direction, but then you invest time and energy and money in taking certain courses, and then after some amount of time has passed, sometimes a few semesters, a couple years, and then you realize that you don't really want to do this after all. Now, when that happens, that doesn't mean that you've made a mistake or that there's something wrong, but you are, in many cases, going to have to retake some courses, perhaps spend more time in college than you had planned on originally, because you ended up going down a path you might not otherwise have gone down if you had had some more background information. But whatever information, whatever brochures, whatever stuff you hear from whoever, if that information isn't processed by you in a way where you are looking at what you care about in life, what you want to do, what are your values, and comparing your values to whatever a particular profession or career offers, you're never going to be satisfied. You probably will never find contentment, because if you're ignoring your values as you search for a path to a profession or a career, then you'll always have this gap, and it'll be very difficult for you to be as satisfied as you could have been if you chose a career or profession that did align more closely with your values. I'll discuss more about this in a later episode in the series on majors and careers, so I encourage you to look for that video. Again, the description box below will include a link to a page showing all of my videos in this series. Now, stepping back from the bigger picture issue about values to kind of narrow in on more nitty-gritty details, if you will, you need to be sure you have a clear understanding of the rules, the policies, the procedures, the deadlines that are associated with earning a college degree. At the high school level, you probably were used to having a guidance counselor or an assistant principal or someone like that handing you a list sometime at the beginning of a school year that had all the courses you were going to be taking that school year. And so you just followed the list, went to class, and that was kind of the experience. At the college level, although certainly again you can have sources, you will have sources of guidance and assistance in terms of following a degree plan. Of course, you need to determine what degree plan you want to follow. Why do you want to pursue a certain major in order to, in turn, be able to pursue a particular career or profession? And like anything else that's organized by human beings, there are always going to be rules, policies, deadlines that you need to be aware of to be able to accomplish these things. Many students come into college thinking of the process of finishing college as a kind of checklist. By checklist, I mean you conceive mentally of the process as being a series of steps that are very linear, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if I do step 1 and check that off the list, and then step 2, and then step 3, and then step 4, and these steps could be, for example, which classes to take. Okay, I've got to take an English class, let me take that and check it off the list. I have to take a math class, let me take that and check it off the list. This checklist approach can create problems for students because in college, things are not necessarily that linear, especially when it comes to bridging the connection between what you're doing as a college student and the stuff you want to do as a professional pursuing a certain career after college. To put it another way, a checklist implies that you can just follow things in a sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. In reality, often as a college student, you need to be able to do multiple things at once and think about multiple things at once. So instead of this checklist approach, which I don't think is helpful, I encourage my students to think about being a college student, being successful in college, as being more like following a recipe for baking a cake. And let me explain what I mean by this. If you're baking a cake, your recipe will include not just a list of what stuff you need to bake the cake. Of course, you'll have ingredients you need, right? Flour, eggs, milk, whatever else you might need, depending on what flavor of cake it is. That recipe will list the ingredients, the stuff you need, but it would also describe how the ingredients are mixed together, what size baking pan do you need, how hot does the oven have to be, how long should you leave the cake in the oven. In other words, it has directions on what to do with the ingredients. Sorry for the interruption, but if you're enjoying this video, please like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon for notifications. So this is the way you should think about your college experience. Your degree plan, which is the plan, the set of stuff you need to do in order to earn a degree in business or engineering or biology or whatever. Your degree plan is going to include a list of courses as well as a schedule. This list of courses is typically what students think about when they think about their degree plan. So if you want to be a biology major, you want to earn a bachelor's degree in biology, there'll be a number of biology classes you'll have to take, of course, in addition to other courses. Some universities or colleges call them general education courses. Some refer to these classes as core courses. Oftentimes at the high school level, teachers or counselors may refer to these as basics. You start college, you take your basic classes, and then you start taking classes for your major when you're a junior or a senior. So the list of classes is part of your degree plan, but what students often don't understand or don't think about is that your degree plan will include, in addition to this list of courses, also the schedule that lays out when to take courses. In other words, your professors in your department and your major have determined from their expertise as biologists or accountants or whatever their field is, whatever the major is, they've figured out for you not only what courses do you need in order to become an engineer or an accountant or a computer scientist or whatever, they've also laid out for you via this degree plan in what sequence and what order should you take these courses and what courses should you take or can you take at the same time. Because, of course, you're typically going to be taking more than one class at one time as a college student. And this may seem like not that big of a deal, but it can be very vital. Sometimes if you as a student are taking classes in the wrong order, you may create problems for yourself. You may end up in situations where a particular class is the professor is expecting you to have certain knowledge, certain information, because you will have taken a certain class before. And if that is not the case, if you don't have that experience or that knowledge, then you probably will not be able to be as successful, if at all, in that course. For example, many students are familiar with or understand courses that may have multiple parts in a sequence. So, for example, if you have to take for your major 2 semesters of chemistry, then it would make sense by looking at the degree plan that chemistry 1 would come before chemistry 2. That seems pretty logical. If you have to take 2 semesters of physics for your particular major, then it would make sense that physics 1 would come before physics 2. That's pretty straightforward. What gets more complicated or more difficult for students is when you actually have what are called prerequisites, which is just a course you have to complete or take before taking another course. Sometimes there are prerequisites that are not necessarily obvious to you because they're not part of the same sequence. They're not as simple as chemistry 1, 2, 3, physics 1, 2, 3, or whatever. For example, business majors often don't understand that accounting and finance classes that you have to take as part of your training, as part of your education as a business major, will have some math that's required to do the accounting, to do the finance calculations, for example. So most business schools will require students or encourage students to take their math requirements before they take certain accounting and finance classes. Now, if you take, let's say, statistics or college algebra, that's a different sequence from your accounting courses. In other words, you may have to take accounting 1, 2, and 3, let's say, as a business major. There's no math in there, right? There's no statistics in there in terms of the sequence. So if you don't know, if you're not paying close attention to your degree plan, to the schedule piece of it, you may try to take an accounting class before taking college algebra or before statistics, and you're going to have some challenges. Similarly, in other fields like science, for example, chemistry has a lot of math. So before taking chemistry classes, you may want to have gotten your math classes out of the way, and so on and so forth. There's no hard and fast rule. But what I want you to take away from this is that just as you should read through a recipe before you start cooking, the way you would want to make sure, if you're baking a cake, let's say, you look at the recipe and make sure you have the stuff, the ingredients, but also what to do with the stuff. Again, how big of a pan do you need? How hot does the oven have to be? How long will the cake be in the oven? This is the bigger picture of baking a cake. Similarly, in terms of your college education, you want to make sure that you're aware of the big picture before you get too deep into your college career. You need to plan what is often called your roadmap, the specific series of steps of what courses you take, when you take them, which courses are you going to be taking at the same time. If you start out as soon as possible early on in your college career, planning out your roadmap from beginning to end, all the time period that you'll be in college, instead of just worrying about this semester, and then when next semester comes, then I'll worry about it, and then when semester after that comes, then I'll worry about it. That's a natural impulse. Certainly as a college student, you're going to be very busy. So it's tempting to kind of let the future work itself out, but sometimes this can be to your detriment. Sometimes there may be stuff you should be doing today, right now, to prepare for next semester, to prepare for 2 semesters from now. So if you're not being thoughtful about these things by being attentive to your degree plan, you may actually cost yourself time and effort later, because you may have to retake a class or take an extra class in a semester because you didn't take it at the right time, or other possible issues. Now, I don't want to make this process sound scary or impossible to manage, but it is a serious process. The good news is you're not in this alone, as I said previously. Your college or university will make available to you 1 or more academic advisors who are there to help you understand your degree plan, all the ins and outs, all the kinds of things that are not necessarily obvious just by looking at a sheet of paper. So it's important that you become comfortable communicating with your academic advisor. Don't be shy about asking questions. Don't be shy about getting help when you have any confusion. But most importantly, you also don't want to be shy about being proactive about meeting with your academic advisor. Don't wait to have a problem before you seek out help. Meet with your academic advisor regularly, at least once per semester, I would recommend. Even if you don't have a particular question or problem, you can meet with them and say, look, here's what I've done the last semester, last school year. Here's where I think I am. Could you help me confirm that I'm on track? And they'll work with you, look over your information, look over the courses you've been taking, compare that with the degree plan for your major, and give you advice on where you stand. And if it turns out that you are where you think you are, then that's great. You've got confirmation. You can keep on proceeding along with your schoolwork. But you may find out that you are not where you think you were. And in that case, you hopefully will be able to catch those kinds of challenges early enough in the process that you minimize or even eliminate any difficulties or problems you might have later. So again, academic advisors are really key to your success in college. Final thing, and then I'll conclude the episode. I know from stories I've heard from many students over the years, especially in the last 10 years or so, many students come into college and feel like they've had bad experiences with advisors or counselors at the high school level. I'm not sure where that comes from or what the reason for that issue is, although I certainly believe my students because it's something that is brought up frequently. But I just wanted to conclude by saying whatever experiences you've had with high school counselors, I assure you the approach, the demands of academic advisors in college, they have a very different job from high school counselors. So don't apply your high school counselor experience onto college, first of all. And then second of all, if you have had negative experiences or problems with high school counselors, that's regrettable. And certainly I sympathize with students who've been in that situation. But in my experience, 99% of college academic advisors are very competent. They're really committed to helping students succeed. Frankly, they could make more money doing something else. So academic advisors are not doing that job for their amusement. They do it because they really value helping students be successful. So go into meetings or interactions with academic advisors with a positive mindset. And I think you'll find that they will not only want to help you, but also will be able to help you with any challenges you may have. So to review, we've been talking about how to plan your academic pathway. We discussed the point that your academic career, your academic success is ultimately your responsibility. That doesn't mean you're in it alone, but you need to be the driver, the manager of your academic career. You want to be sure that you are reflective of your values. If you're making academic decisions that don't align with the stuff you care about, the stuff you want to do, then you, at a minimum, will probably not be able to take advantage of college as much as you could. And in worst case scenarios, you may end up unhappy with some of the choices you make if you're not making sure that what you're doing in college, the major you're choosing, the classes you're taking, are really aligned with your values, with what you care about, as opposed to doing them for some other reason. Understand the rules and policies, deadlines, procedures that your university is going to have. No one likes bureaucracy. No one likes having to meet deadlines and do all this stuff, file paperwork, fill out forms, but this is part of being an adult and it's part of the college process. Think of your college journey and your academic planning in particular not as a checklist, step 1, step 2, step 3, but more being like a recipe where you have both courses to take, but also a schedule in which to take them. And then finally, be mindful that your academic advisor is going to be key to your success. So don't be reluctant to interact with, to communicate with your academic advisor whenever you have any challenges or issues. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll click on the thumbs up icon below. And if you really enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications by clicking on the bell icon. YouTube will notify you of future videos added to this channel. Remember, college success is challenging, it takes work and effort, but it is certainly within your grasp. Good luck.